Hello?
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Welcome aboard Frank's Magic Bus. For the next 2 hours, Frank Welch takes you on a musical journey with some of the best deep tracks of classic rock history. You'll hear this week's featured artist and a whole lot more.
Woohoo! No, Kelly Clarkson!
Now, without further ado, Frank Welch.
Hey, in this hour of the Magic Bus, if you like Grand Funk Railroad, don't touch that radio dial. That one right there you're about to touch. Get your hand off that damn thing. Come on now. We're going to talk one-on-one here in a few minutes with Don Brewer, the great drummer of Grand Funk Railroad.
Today's featured artist on Frank's Magic Bus.
And our feature this time around is Grand Funk Railroad. We're talking with Don Brewer. Don recently was on tour with Grand Funk and stopped into the studios here to talk with us here in the Magic Bus, right in our lobby, as a matter of fact. The great drummer of Grand Funk Railroad, Don Brewer. They started out back in Flint, Michigan. It was Don, it was Mel Shocker, it was Mark Farner. Back around 1969, really started playing to audiences. In fact, played the Atlanta Pop Festival. Great story he's going to tell us here in a second on that. Little play on words, named themselves after the Grand Trunk Railroad overpass in their hometown. And they were doing that power trio thing, as we hear from Don.
When you guys busted out of the Flint area, Detroit area in 69, I remember your first single Time Machine. At that time, the power trio was kind of the thing. I mean, yeah. Well, Cream had just retired, and you had Mountain, Leslie Wesson Mountain, James Gang a little bit later, and then you guys out of Michigan. Was there something special? Was that a conscious thing to get down to basics, drum, bass, and guitar at that time?
It was for us. I mean, that we saw that happening, you know, with Hendrix and Cream and Blue Cheer, and you know, that was what was coming in the late '60s. You know, Mark and I were in a band called The Pack, and at that time we were having trouble, you know, forging forward out of Michigan, trying to spread out from there, and we were kind of considered a '60s act, you know, and so we figured, well, you know, why don't we take, you know, here's these guys doing blues, which is what Hendrix and Blue Cheer and Cream, they focused on blues but made it rock, cranked it up, and made it this, you know. We were an R&B band, you know, we were from Detroit, you know, and we loved rhythm and blues, you know, that was our thing. So, you know, we just kind of took our formula for music, which was R&B, and did the same thing that those guys did, crank it up, and we created, I think, a very unique thing that's all Grand Funk. It's this R&B rock feel, you know, and yeah, we consciously wanted to do a trio. We got Mel Shocker from Question Mark and the Mysterians.
And as we continue our conversation with Grand Funk Railroad's drummer Don Brewer, we talked to him about a lucky break they got back in 1969 to get to play someplace really big with no record at all.
You know, the legend has it that you played the Atlanta Pop Festival in '69. Was that for free and you got signed?
Yeah, it really was a favor to, you know, to a friend of a friend, one of those kind of things, and it came back through an agent we had in Ann Arbor, Michigan. You know, basically, if you can get your guys down here, you know, we aren't going to pay for anything, but we'll put them on opening day, opening act of the Atlanta Pop Festival. And we said sure. So we borrowed a trailer, and you know, we rented a van, and we put everything we had in the van, and we hit the road, you know, and we tried to get there as fast as possible. We rolled our trailer, all of our equipment was all over Chattanooga, you know, and it was a tough getting there, but we got there, got up on stage, played that opening slot. The audience went crazy. A band that they'd never heard of, they went crazy for this new band. They invited us back to play the next day in a better time slot. They invited us back again the next day to play even a better time slot. And it really kind of led to this word of mouth thing through the South. Check out this new band, Grand Funk Railroad. And then Capitol Records, you know, caught wind of it, and that's really what happened, yeah.
Well, just 2 years later, Grand Funk Railroad shattering records. They sold out Shea Stadium in 1971 faster than the Beatles did. And we continue our conversation with Grand Funk Railroad's drummer Don Brewer about the guy who took over in the early 70s as their producer, Todd Rundgren, the Runt, how he was in the studio, and what Don thought about when a few years ago Todd kind of took over the Cars and called themselves the New Cars.
If somebody would have told you that a few years ago, that he'd be singing lead for the Cars, would you believe it?
You know, I once I put two and two together, I can see it. You know, I definitely can. I mean, the guy's a very talented guy, and would I have thought it a few years ago? No.
And he is one of the legendary producers of all time in the studio, hands-on. How good was he for you guys in the 70s?
He was extremely inspirational for us. I mean, we came out of, you know, 69, 70, recording and trying to record in Detroit and Cleveland. The engineers and the recording techniques really hadn't caught up to what rock was about, you know, so we were always having to sacrifice our live sound to get it on tape in the recording studio. When we went in with Todd, it was like, don't worry about the distortion, don't worry about the sound, I'll just get it. I mean, it was very inspirational. He recorded everything to tape. He didn't record everything flat, which is what a lot of guys, they want to do this purist thing, record it flat and then do all of the EQ and stuff later. Todd just said, no, he made it sound exactly like it was going to sound in your headphones.